All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's good to see all your bright, shining faces this morning. I hope you're ready for Ruth chapter 4 today. Did anybody read that in preparation for today? Yeah, wow, that's probably the most ever. Well done, guys. So who wants to come up and preach it then? No? All right, I'll do it.
You do a good job.
Thank you, June. I'll do it. All right, Ruth chapter 4 today. The title of the message, A Handsome Reward. That's not an illusion to me. Just keep going, right? A handsome reward. Ruth chapter 4, verses 1 through 22. A world-class woman runner was invited to compete in a road race in Connecticut. On the morning of the race, she drove from New York City following the directions, or so she thought, given to her over the telephone. She got lost, stopped at a gas station and asked for help. She knew that the race in the parking lot was in the parking lot of a shopping mall. The station attendant also knew of such a race scheduled just up the road and directed her there. When she arrived, she was relieved to see in the parking lot a modest number of runners preparing to compete. Not as many as she anticipated, an easier race than she'd be led to expect. She hurried to the registration desk, announced herself, and was surprised by the race officials' excitement at having so renowned an athlete show up for their race. No, they had no record of her entry, but if she'd hurry and put on this number, she could make it before the run starts. She ran, and naturally she won easily, some 4 minutes ahead of the first male runner in second place. Only after the race, when there was no envelope containing her sizable prize and performance money that she was expecting, did she confirm that the event she'd run was not the race to which she was invited. That race was being held several miles farther up the road in another town. She'd gone to the wrong starting line, run the wrong course, and missed her chance to win a valuable prize. Why do I share that story with you this morning? As we've been studying Ruth, Ruth has had an exciting opportunity to serve God in a very special way. She started her life as a Moabite woman. She married into the family of Naomi, who was a Jew, and early on, she was supposed to go back to her homeland. Remember, Naomi said, go back to your home. Go back, you just leave me alone. You know, Naomi goes back, call me Mara. Do you remember all this? But what did Ruth decide to do? She realized that there was a certain race that she was going to need to run. She could have ran a different race. We all have choices in our lives. You see where I'm going with this? We all have choices in our lives. Every one of us gets a choice to make. Where are you going to go to church? Are you going to go to church this morning? Where are you going to go to work? You going to show up for work Monday morning? You have a race that you can run, and every day you get to make choices just like that. And Ruth was making choices, and we've seen the choices that Ruth has been making so far in the first 3 chapters of this book. What if she would have chosen to run a different race? Boy, that
wouldn't be Jesus because
she probably wouldn't have been in the line of Jesus. Her life would have been a whole lot different. And every one of us has a race that we are supposed to run before God, a race that He has designed for us to walk in. We have a path set forth before us that we are supposed to walk in. The $1 million question isn't whether or not you have a race to run. The question is, are you running that race, or did you miss the boat and running some other race that you was never supposed to run? A race never designed for you to run. Sure, you may think you're doing well in that race. The lady in our example won her race, but that was never the race that she was designed to run. So let's think about maybe some of the rewards of running the race that you're supposed to run. And perhaps there's a handsome reward in store for you if you run the race that you're supposed to run. Because I suspect, having read Ruth chapter 4 already before today, there is a handsome reward set forth for Ruth as a result of trusting God and running the race that she was supposed to run. So as we think about this, God wants you to run the race designed for you. You're not supposed to run my race. You're not supposed to run your spouse's race. You're not supposed to run your kids' race. You're not supposed to run anybody else's race but yours. God wants you to run the race designed for you. There's 3 results that happen as a result of running the race that God has designed for you. And as we read this chapter 4 of the book of Ruth, the final chapter, let's see if you can figure out the results of running the race that is designed for you. Ruth chapter 4 and verse 1. Now, Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, "Come aside, friend, sit down here." So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." And so they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, "Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. I thought to inform you, saying, 'Buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you tell me not to redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you.' And so the close relative said, 'I will redeem it.' Then Boaz said, 'On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance.' And the close relative said, 'I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it.' Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was a confirmation in Israel. Therefore the close relative said to Boaz, 'Buy it for yourself.' So he took off his sandal. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, 'You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren, and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day.' And all the people who were at the gate when the elders said, 'We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, and the 2 who built the house of Israel, and may you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring which the Lord will give you from this young woman.' So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and when he went in to her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Then the women said to Naomi, 'Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a close relative, and may his name be famous in Israel. And may he be a restorer of life and a nourisher of old age for your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons has borne him.' Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her bosom and became a nurse to him. Also the neighbor women gave him a name, saying, 'There is a son born to Naomi,' and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David." Now this is the genealogy of Perez. Perez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Abinadab. Aminadab begot Nahshon. Nahshon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz. Boaz begot Obed. Obed begot Jesse. And Jesse begot David. Did you see the results of running the race designed for you, and not just trying to do something else or shortcut something or cheat or anything like that? Run the race designed for you. 3 results. Verses 1 through 8. First result, you have the gift of authority. You have the gift of authority. Second gift, these results here, verses 9 through 12, is the gift of acceptance. Third result, third gift, verses 13 through 22, the gift of ancestors. Ancestors are a pretty big deal in these days. And we're going to look at that as we get to that point. So God wants you to run the race designed for you. Let's look at this first result, the gift of authority. So Boaz went up to the gate, sat down there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken of came by. And Boaz said, "Come aside, friend, sit down here." And he came aside and sat down. So Boaz has this authority. So not only is Ruth running the race designed for her, but who else is running the race designed for them? Boaz. Boaz could have said, "Actually, Ruth, I'm out. There's a closer relative. This is his name. He lives over there. You're on your own." He could have done that, and he would have been within his right to do that. But is that what Boaz did? It's not what Boaz did. He had a little bit more integrity than that. He was going to run the race that God had designed for him, and he has this position of authority now to do these sorts of things, to call this close relative, to call together the elders, to call together people at the gate, and to sit down and have this conversation. He has the authority to do these things. I'm not sure there was anybody else that could have done anything like this except for Boaz, because he was in God's will to do what God wanted him to do. Sometimes things don't happen in our lives because they're outside of what God is expecting for us. We're outside of what he wants us to do, and we just can't figure out why sometimes things go south. Sometimes you end up getting in trouble for sinning, and you just can't figure out why you're grounded. Why am I grounded? This isn't fair. Well, maybe you shouldn't have gone out and done something stupid. Sometimes things happen to us not because of anything, but because we're dumb and we make bad choices. We get outside of the will of God. Boaz stayed in the will of God, and he maintained the authority that he had from God because he was doing what God wanted him to do. And that begs the question, are you doing what God wants you to do? Do you think that you're in the will of God? It's a tough question. That's a really tough question. I think the answer lies for most of us individually. I think the will of God in my life is to work at Fairway. Debbie, is that the will of God for your life? Probably not. It's probably for the best. You know, Jeff, you're at Lennox. Joseph, is that the will of God in your life to work at Lennox? Probably not. Everybody is different. We all have certain things that God wants from us and expects from us to do or to go and to, whatever. Are you doing the things that God wants you to do? When you feel the Spirit in your life tugging at you, working with you, convicting you, urging you, pushing you, you listen? Can you even recognize it when the Spirit is working on you like that? There's some Christians that say, "Oh, I've never heard the Spirit, Well, I don't know, red flag. The Spirit does work in us. The Spirit does guide us. The Spirit does teach us. At least he's supposed to. I was told that he does anyway. Are you listening for that? Are you paying attention to that? Are you doing those things that he wants you to do? Sometimes some of the things that we're supposed to do are laid out pretty black and white in this book. Is God's will for your life? Different things. Your sanctification, according to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Are you pursuing your sanctification? These sorts of things. We can have these kinds of conversations. And when you start to degrade yourself and you start to not listen to God, you start to not read his word, you start to not do what you're expected to do, you start going your own way, you start having your own life and doing your own thing, all of a sudden you start to lose the authority that you have, that God has given to you. I think about that all the time at work. For some reason, these guys decided to promote me. Can you believe that, Maggie, right? You know more than anybody else. Can you believe they decided to promote me? What if I just decided to start abusing my power as now an assistant manager? Maybe I was lazy. Maybe I start coming in late. Maybe I don't pull my weight around like I used to. When I'm writing the schedule, I really just dump on somebody. What do you think is going to happen to my authority? Right. You think these guys are going to listen to me anymore? Do you think I'm going to have the influence that I have? If I was on time, I was before every one of them showed up. I was there. I work harder than all the rest of them. I pull my weight more than all the rest of them combined. And then I ask them to do something. Do you think they'll do it? Probably. Why? Because I've not abused my authority. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And sometimes we just can't figure out why God isn't blessing us the way we want him to. Big mystery. Well, think about it at work. If you're terrible at your job and you just can't figure out why you didn't get promoted, I wonder if there's a reason for that. It's the same thing with God. He expects certain things out of us as well. He wants us to do certain things. He wants us to not do other things. Yeah, but I don't know what they are. They're right here, man. I'm telling you, they're not hard to find. We go through a lot of them at church. I'll do a Bible study with you, won't I, June? Yeah, absolutely. We'll do a Bible study. We can go through and learn whatever you want to learn about what this book says to make sure you're in the line and will of God. Absolutely. And Boaz was doing everything right. He could have taken a different path. He could have done something else, and he would have been, okay to do those things. But he said, you know what? I am going to take care of Ruth because that is what is right. I do understand that this other closer relative is first in line and has the right of first refusal, and I'm okay with that. So let's go find this closer relative. Let's go talk to him. He's not going to expect Ruth to just handle it all by herself. He's going to step up to the plate. He's going to be a man. He's going to say, you know what, Ruth, I'm going to go find him for you. Because we're going to make sure you're okay. So he finds him. He calls the elders together. And everybody's listening to Boaz. You notice nobody's arguing with him? You notice nobody's having any problem with everything that's going on here? Everybody seems to be pretty happy about all this stuff. Boaz has the authority to sit these people down and have these conversations. And as you read through verse 8, he just lays it all out for this guy in front of the elders, in front of the people, and he speaks with authority from God to do this stuff. In verse 4, he says, and I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. He says to that close relative, if you want to do it, then you need to do it. You notice that guy didn't say, you can't tell me what to do. You ever hear anything like that today? You're not the boss of me. Because Boaz had the authority. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if not, tell me, so that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. You know what that guy said? I will. That close relative agreed with Boaz. He said, I will redeem it. I didn't see, if you were reading this for the first time, I don't know if I would have seen that one coming. This guy's going to redeem it. Story's over. But that's not how it ends, is it? Sometimes things don't happen or end the way you think they're going to end. Sometimes there's going to be a twist or a curveball, and you got to be ready. Boaz says, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. And the close relative said, can't do it. And we can speculate all morning as to why this close relative didn't want to do it. Maybe he already has an inheritance that he wants to give to his children. Maybe taking this on would, I don't know. Maybe he's already married and his wife doesn't want him to have another wife like Ruth. I don't know. Ladies can probably understand that. Maybe, who knows why he didn't want to redeem it. But the condition of redeeming it and having Ruth as his wife just was a little too unappealing for him. Was this guy within his right to say, actually, no, I think I'm going to be out? He could, and he did. That was okay for him to not take part. That was okay. So now what's Boaz going to do? You said you were going to. What's wrong with you? You said you were going to. Sometimes we do this with people. No, but you said. Verse 7, now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging to confirm anything. One man took off his sandal and gave it to the another, and this was a confirmation in Israel. Therefore the close relative said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. And so he took off his sandal. So he says, you know what, Boaz, you can have it. And you know what, to confirm what we're going to do, we're going to do this sandal thing. I don't know, we don't usually, I don't know, has anybody done that lately? Maybe you go to Walmart and here's the transaction and you give them your shoe. Like, I don't know. We don't really do that anymore. I don't know when that died out as a practice or as a custom, but we don't do that anymore. So it's kind of weird for us. But that's what they did. And so they did. And they confirmed this covenant, that this is what's going to happen. And Boaz has the authority to follow through with this plan. He has the authority to talk to this close relative. He's got the authority to call these elders together. He has the authority to seal this deal. And he does it with the integrity. It's amazing. That's not the only result of running the race that God has designed for you. Not only do you have authority, but you also have acceptance. You ever notice that when you have that kind of authority and you start asking people to do things, they just kind of accept it? You're just kind of okay with it. They're not squirming. They're not feeling bad. There's no buyer's remorse. You're just okay. You know how nice it is to just be okay? Just to be at peace. The Hebrew word shalom. There's no conflict. There's no problems. There's no issues. There's nothing to bring up. There's nothing more to discuss. I'm not mad about it. I'm just okay with it. I'm content with what's going on. When's the last time you felt that way about almost anything? Has it been a while? For a lot of us, it's been a long time since we've just been okay. Because there's so much stuff to worry about. And we like to worry, don't we? I find that a lot of times women like to dwell on things. Is that true? I'm not a woman, so I don't know. It's what I hear, though. Do women dwell on things? This means yes and this means no. Mary, you don't dwell on things? Good. You've surpassed the average. You think men do?
Men do.
Some men do. Sometimes I do. But I hear women dwell on things a lot. You know, we have this issue sometimes where men and women will dwell on things. And we'll get real concerned about what's going on. We get real worried about what's going to happen or where we're going to go or how's this going to turn out. We have a surgery coming up and we're worried about is it going to go well or what are the doctors going to be like? Am I actually going to have it? You know, things come up and we start to think about these things and life happens. Am I going to get their promotion? Am I going to be able to do well? I get this promotion to be an assistant manager. Are they going to like me? Are they going to accept me? Are they going to follow me? Are they going to trust me? I don't know. And you can just get yourself worked up about a million different things. And you know how many things you should get yourself all worked up about? What's the magic number? Maybe one thing. Your walk with the Lord? Yep. It's about the only thing we need to worry about. How's your walk with the Lord? That's about all you got to worry about. Are you seeking Him first? Are you putting Him first? Are you doing what He wants you to do first before you start worrying about all this other stuff? Are you in the will of God? Are you seeking what He wants you to do? There's acceptance that comes into our life when we just realize to just be content. That's what Paul tells us in Philippians 4 anyway, at least that's what I've read. He's learned to be content. Notice he says he has to learn to be content. We're not born being content. We have to learn how to be content. Have you learned how to be content? To just accept things? You know, when you're running the race that God has designed for you, there's an opportunity for you to be content. And to just accept what's going on in the world around you. And the world is crumbling down all around us. I don't know if you've seen the news recently or been to the gas pump lately, for example. The world is not the same world it was a year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It's continuing to circle the drain, as it were. But be of good cheer, says Jesus, because I've overcome the world. And Boaz, Ruth, Naomi, the elders, this close relative, when everybody's just running the race that God has designed for them, when things happen, you can just be okay with it. Oh, you were going to take her, and now you don't think you can? That's okay. That's okay. It's okay if you can't. It really is okay, because I'll do it. Also okay. Ruth, are you okay with this? Ruth is okay with this. Everything is just okay when you're running the race that God has designed for you. As soon as you start to worry about what everybody else is doing, all of a sudden you start crashing into other people. And what does it look like when you start to crash into other people? We have interpersonal conflict. We hold grudges. We can get bitter. What other things can happen as a result of crashing into other people because you're all worried about what somebody else is doing? I'll let you dwell on that for a minute. Notice none of that stuff happened with Boaz, the elders, with Ruth, with the inheritance, with the land. Everything was okay. When's the last time in your life everything was okay? We're just gonna make it work. It's gonna be okay. God's in control. Everything's okay. And he says, moreover, verse 10, Ruth, the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, even though I can't stand her, even though she's ugly. Is that what it says? That's not what it says. It says, I've acquired her as my wife. I get the sense that he's happy about this. I get the sense that he's accepted this. Because this is what he believes God wants him to do, so this is what he's going to do. And it's okay. I've acquired as my wife to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among the dead, from his brethren, and from his position at the gate. And you're witnesses. This isn't something being done in secret. He's not doing this behind closed doors. He's not sending an emissary or somebody else to do this for him by his own hand, his own sandal. And you all are witnesses that everything is okay with what's going on here. And all these elders and all the people at the gate said, I don't know about this. Is that what they said? Did I read that wrong? And all the people who were at the gate and all the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, the two who built the house of Israel. May you prosper in Epaphrath and be famous in Bethlehem. May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring which the Lord will give to you from this young woman. So they go back and they find these old stories from Genesis and this story of Perez and Tamar. That might not have been a really great, uplifting story, but there was blessing that came out of it. It might not have been really awesome at the time. As you go back into Genesis and you read that story of Perez and Tamar, it might not have been awesome. Wasn't a really great story, actually. Kind of, rated at least R. Right? At least R, if not NC-17. Yeah, there's stories like that in the Bible. But in spite of the fact that this story about Tamar and Perez, in spite of the fact that that's such a raunchy story, God is able to use even some bad situations and some bad circumstances and turn them into blessing. And they said, you know what, we noticed in the past that God can take even bad situations and make them good. I bet God could make a good situation and make it even better. God is able to take this heap of ash and turn it into something beautiful. He makes all things beautiful in its time. Does that include the rubble of your life? Yes. Again, this still means yes. God can take the heap of our life, and sometimes that's all we have to give to him is just a clump mess of our life that's just out of control and backwards and upside down, and we're just a mess. And we say, you know what, Lord, here's my heart. It's all I have. And what's he going to say? It's all I want. And he can take that mess that is your life and change it into something just unbelievably awesome, because he has a race that he wants you to run if you would just run it. And stop worrying about everybody else's race and just run your race. You ever watch a horse race? Like Kentucky Derby or something like that. You ever notice they put those little blinders on the horses? Why do you suppose they do that? Yeah, so they don't get spooked. I mean, can you imagine as a jockey going like 1,000,000 miles an hour on a horse like that, and your horse sees a rabbit and goes like this? They put blinders on. So you know what? Sometimes I wonder if as believers, go with me here. I wonder if once in a while, maybe we need to put some blinders on. Just here. Not here, guys. Follow me with this. Not here. Here. And stop being so distracted by every little thing that comes along and just run the race that you're supposed to be running. Because the second you just go like this, that's when the mess starts. This is what Boaz did. This is what Ruth did. This is what Naomi did. The elders, the close relative, everybody accepts what is going on. And God is able to make these things beautiful. And how does God make this race that Ruth and Boaz have run? How does he make their race beautiful in the very end? He leaves us the gift of ancestors. Something very important to these people and even to us. We love our grandkids, don't we, Shirley? Yeah, we sure do. We love all of our grandkids. You know, a lot of us have some really wonderful grandkids. We love our kids. These are a really big deal. Some of us do a lot of crazy stuff just to go to a baseball game, you know? It's a big deal, as it should be. And you know what happens with Ruth and Boaz? They have a wonderful family. You know how wonderful the family is that God gives to these two people who ran the race that God wanted them to run? You know how awesome their family ends up being? It isn't that they just have some grandkids that they love. They do. But there is something really special about this bloodline. Really special. Because at the very end, in verse 22, what's the last name in verse 22? Everybody say it.
David.
David. Does that name sound familiar? Again, this is still yes, guys. Does that name sound familiar?
Yes.
Yes. The name of David. And God tells David in 2 Samuel chapter 7, and I will set up my descendant on your throne forever. And David becomes the ancestor of Jesus Christ. Thankfully, Ruth ran her race. And her family now therefore will receive a very handsome reward. What are the rewards that you can have as a result of running your race that God has designed specifically for you? I don't know, but I suspect they're out there. And I hope you're as excited as I am to see what those rewards really are in the time to come. Let's pray.